She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She just walked away and came back with the power to rewrite the story. It was an ordinary afternoon in the heart of downtown, sunlight glinting off glass towers, the hum of engines blending with hurried footsteps. The air was warm, touched with the faint scent of asphalt, and roasted coffee drifting from a small café wedged between two sleek office buildings. Alicia Thomas pushed open the door, the tiny bell above it chiming softly. She moved with quiet grace, her dark curls neatly pinned, her navy blazer pressed, her steps unhurried. She looked like someone who knew exactly where she was going, though no one around seemed to notice. Inside, the café buzzed with life. Students typing furiously, a barista laughing at a joke, office workers murmuring over half-empty cups. The walls were lined with vintage photos, the floor scuffed from years of use. It was charming in a way that tried hard to remember the past. Alicia smiled faintly as she joined the short line, her fingers brushing the strap of her leather bag. She inhaled deeply, savoring the rich scent of coffee and sugar. But beneath that warmth, beneath the hum of daily chatter, there was something else, something faint but sharp. The place smelled of roasted beans and fresh pastries, but beneath that sweetness lingered something bitter. Alicia waited patiently as the last customer stepped aside, her polite smile ready, her voice calm. But when she approached the counter, the young clerk didn't even glance up. His cheerful chatter, which had filled the space moments ago, fell silent. His shoulders stiffened. The warmth in his voice turned to ice. "We're kind of busy right now," he muttered, eyes fixed on the register. "Maybe you can come back later." Alicia blinked, unsure if she'd heard correctly. She looked around. The cafe was quiet now. Only the low hum of the espresso machine filled the pause. No one else stood in line. The few customers seated nearby shifted awkwardly, their eyes flickering between her and the clerk. No one spoke. Her lips parted slightly, then closed again. She had learned over time that arguing rarely changed minds already made. Instead, she steadied her breath, the sting in her chest rising like smoke. It wasn't the first time she'd met that tone, the one coated with politeness but soaked in disdain. Still, it hurt every time. Prejudice, she thought, was never loud anymore. It whispered, hiding behind customer service smiles and lowered eyes. Alicia turned slowly, her calm masking a storm that no one else could see. A quiet unease settled over the cafe like a fog. The couple sitting by the corner exchanged uncertain glances. The woman leaned closer to her partner, whispering, "That's not right." Her voice was low, almost guilty, as if kindness itself might draw attention. But they didn't move. No one ever did. Alicia stood still for a moment, the silence pressing against her skin. Her pulse beat steadily beneath the calm mask she wore, one she had perfected over the years. She met the clerk's indifferent gaze, and for a fleeting second his eyes wavered, but it was too late. Without a word, Alicia gave a small, dignified nod. Then she turned. The soft rhythm of her heels echoed sharply against the tile floor. Click, click, click. A sound that sliced through the still air like quiet thunder. Heads turned, but lips stayed sealed. She pushed open the door, sunlight spilling over her face. Her reflection caught for a moment in the cafe's glass window, composed, unbroken. As she stepped onto the sidewalk, her eyes drifted toward the cafe's worn-out sign, its edges chipped, the paint fading to gray. Next to it, an empty for lease flyer fluttered weakly against the glass. Her gaze lingered there, just long enough for an idea to spark. A few hours later, the golden light of late afternoon spilled through the cafe windows, stretching long shadows across the floor. The rush had faded. Only the quiet hum of a ceiling fan and the soft scrape of a rag against the counter remained. The young clerk sighed, wiping down a coffee ring, his thoughts already drifting toward the end of his shift. Then, the sharp purr of an engine broke the stillness. A sleek black car rolled to a stop outside, its reflection gliding across the glass. The clerk straightened instinctively as the door swung open. A man in a tailored suit entered first, carrying a leather briefcase. Behind him, Alicia stepped in, the same woman from earlier. But something about her had changed. The same calm grace, yes, but now it carried weight, a quiet power that filled the room. Her expression was unreadable, her steps sure. The clerk froze, his hand still clutching the rag. Alicia didn't look his way. Instead, she greeted the cafe owner with a warm, professional smile. Papers rustled, pens clicked. The two exchanged firm handshakes, their words low but clear. The clerk's confusion deepened as he watched the signatures fall into place, ink sealing something he couldn't yet understand. The pen's final stroke echoed louder than it should have, a quiet sound that seemed to fill the cafe. The owner leaned back with a satisfied grin, closing the folder and turning toward the stunned clerk. He gave the young man a friendly pat on the shoulder. "Meet your new boss," he said cheerfully. She just bought the building. For a heartbeat, the world stood still. The clerk blinked, his mind scrambling to catch up. His face drained of color as if the ground beneath him had shifted. His lips parted. I didn't know. I didn't..." The words stumbled over themselves, trembling just like his hands. Alicia finally turned to him. Her gaze was steady, not cruel, not smug, simply calm. The kind of calm that comes from knowing exactly who you are. "Respect," she said softly, "should never depend on who's holding the pen." Her tone wasn't scolding. It was truth, delivered like a mirror. The clerk lowered his eyes, shame burning hot across his cheeks. Outside, the black car gleamed beneath the fading sun. Inside, the air shifted, no longer heavy with silence, but charged with quiet justice. Weeks passed, and the cafe that once carried a bitter taste began to transform. The old sign was replaced with a new one, bold, welcoming, painted in warm gold and deep brown. The Haven Cafe. Inside, laughter filled the air where tension once lingered. The smell of freshly baked bread mingled with soft jazz music and the gentle hum of conversation. Alicia stood behind the counter, not as a customer, but as the owner, guiding, listening, encouraging. She hired local teens who needed a second chance, single mothers eager to provide for their families, and refugees who carried stories of resilience in their eyes. Each person brought something different, a smile, a story, a spark. And together, they created something beautiful. The young clerk still worked there, quieter now, more thoughtful. Alicia hadn't fired him. She'd given him a lesson far greater than punishment, the lesson of humility and redemption. Under Alicia's care, the cafe blossomed into more than a business. It became a heartbeat of the community, proof that kindness and strength could exist side by side. Sometimes the best revenge isn't anger. It's grace wrapped in power, and the courage to change what once rejected you. True strength isn't shown by how loud you speak, but how wisely you act when disrespected. Kindness and power speaks louder than pride and ignorance.